following is a KPB MediaWorks production.
And we're live.
Seems so.
Welcome to another episode of KPBCast, guys. With me, as we all know, these beautiful faces, the production team of Keg Punch Block. How the heck are you guys?
I'm good.
No complaints.
Oh, look at that, man. They're all
Good,
afraid.
doing
Like,
all right.
who goes first? Who goes first?
Did you say Kek Punch Block?
He said,
Somebody said
Say
Kek.
again?
he said
I think
cat.
he said Kek.
Cack.
Well, not guys like Kek.
Well, guys,
Wow.
once again, we have Rodimus Prime. We have Rage, KPB Rage, Aphro Dynamek, The Voice, and, you know, one of the all-time great KOF content creators, Deezee Kujaku with us. Wait, how you pronounce that last one? Is it Kujaku?
Kujaku.
There you go.
Yeah.
And today, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about year 2022 from a production team standpoint, man. So let's see. What should we start with this one, man? Obviously, 2021, it was a little bit of a rough year. But production-wise, 2022 came around. And Rod, if you could, give our viewers an idea, how is it that, originally, what was your plan? How were you guys going to tackle 2022 from a production standpoint? Considering you guys are one of the bigger production teams of FGC content in New York City.
We're always trying to push the envelope and just make things happen for us so that prospective clients can see what we're doing and say, hey, we like that. Let's work with you guys. If you've been watching our streams, our FTC streams for the last year, we've done kind of like the 3-cam on the commentary bit, whereas we have one main static cam, and then each caster has their own camera. And just to give it a more sports feel, anything we watch stuff like, for example, I'm a basketball fan and I watch basketball. I watch we watch NBA on TNT.
I would hope you watch basketball as a basketball.
Yeah,
fan.
You watch NBA on TNT, and you got the Shaq and Ernie and those guys, and it's 4 guys, right? 4 personalities, but then whenever they're speaking in depth about something, you got the one shot and stuff. I mean, we wanted to bring that into esports, so that was one of my things that I started doing. Mainly, I think we did it mid 2021, but we made sure in most cases that we did it through 2022. Little things like that go a long way, and it doesn't cost you extra if you're a content creator, if you're a streamer. I like to pay a lot of detail into direction, so that's very important to me in what's going on. So try to. Go ahead.
I was actually going to say, with a little bit of a follow-up with that, you said it doesn't cost that much. So did it cost much, Steve, to upgrade any kind of computer parts, any kind of equipment?
Well, during the pandemic, we got new cameras, new gear, of course. So, yeah, it did cost.
It cost, yes. It cost, but it cost us. Yeah, definitely. You let Steve continue with that, definitely.
Yeah, it was worth it. All right.
He's a man of few words, everyone. If anybody knows him. Anyway, go ahead, Rod.
No, but like what Steve was saying, of course, during the pandemic, a lot of industries, took a shot. Ours too, in terms of being in more live situations, right? But a lot of the bigger production companies folded, and along with that, their equipment went on the market, and it got pretty cheap, so we were able to, take advantage of some of that, get some things and upgrade our stuff, because I guess if you're looking at it from a, positive standpoint, we're going to eventually come out of this and get right back into what we were doing, which is kind of what we're doing now. And I think those moves paid off in the long run.
How much is it a chore to, drag all that stuff across? Because you guys have been all over the country in 2022. Who's in charge of that? Is it mainly just you, Mike, and Steve?
It depends. We also work with people like Dre, people taking Dre. Shouts out to him, Andre. we combine our forces to help out with bigger productions. It's a pain in the ass to travel with this stuff, and is a lot of it is because we're still in a time of heightened security. We fly, so it's like there's always a threat of terrorism, and with that, I've had I've been involved in multiple incidents where because we flew with stuff, there's been some sort of issue, right? For example, anyone familiar with flying, uh, there's this stuff there's these locks called TSA locks, uh, and you got luggage that comes out now that has it embedded. The
Right.
luggage has embedded TSA locks. So for those that don't know how they work, TSA locks are locks that the TSA can open on their own without needing your key or anything. Um, it's from what I remember, it's like one of at the time I remember maybe 7 possible frequencies that open up these locks that they have in possession, and if they feel they need to flag something of yours down, they'll go ahead and open it, which is fine and understandable being in the world that we live in, except that we travel with expensive computer parts. And a lot of times, and in fact, to point out back to the situation we had in the summer with Dre, um, we had our main computer taken apart because of this. And
Oh
they
wow.
don't tell you this stuff. They don't tell you this stuff. They just kind of like throw stuff out, and then okay, there's no
Yeah, they
bomb.
mention it in passing, basically.
You meant, oh yeah, we went in and ruined your life while we were there. So you go back and close it. We're literally setting up and realize that all the cards are pulled out of place and things aren't there. And if not for the fact that because we've done this stuff so much, you got to have a backup to the backup. We were able to run stuff on like other computers. I happened to bring my laptop, which I ended up using for production. And we were able to make a situation work, because we were prepared. But this is the life of a traveling stream team. The other way around it is either you drive to these different places, or you have stuff shipped via UPS or FedEx or whatever. As long as you have
Right.
someone
Right.
that's able to receive and make sure everything's okay. But that's time consuming and can be costly. More so time consuming. You need to have a body there, to pick it up. So if you have work that, including setup and breakdown time is 4 or 5 days, you might need someone there to be there for 6, 7 days just to make sure that they receive the item and then have it sent off again. So it can be daunting. We definitely had a hard time trying to make sure that we were able to pull off this event properly, and in our opinion, we definitely were able to because we were somewhat prepared.
Hey Deezee, would you say that is possibly one of the things that is probably the most annoying things to a production team member? All this stuff that the scene does not see, and by that I mean the players who wouldn't know anything about production because they're just there to compete.
Right.
People who go there to spectate, because this is what they do. Do you think that maybe if some of the things that Rodney just outlined, TSA problems, you get all your equipment, you get to the event venue, and oh look, we have extra stuff that we have to deal with. And then sometimes you hear people talking, well, they don't know what the heck they're doing, but they really don't see what's really happening. Do you think, where does that rank for you among one of the things that annoys you the most about, people not knowing what it is that you guys go through, from a production standpoint?
That kind of happens with tournaments in general. Like, not even just for production, but just like, you get the people that don't go to the event, or the people that go to the event, but they don't see the setup or the breakdown. They don't see where things go wrong that are beyond their control, like, issues with the internet at the venue, or even just like, a cable being missing or something like that. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. And all they see is what they see on that projector screen, or if they didn't go to the event, they see what's on the stream. So when I hear people say like, "Oh man, like, they screwed this up, they screwed that up," and a lot of times it's not really us screwing up. I mean, granted, sometimes it is. We're human. We make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it happens, but for the most part, it's something that's beyond our control. And streamers, they say all the time, streaming is a blow up, and we don't get a lot of credit for or not credit. We don't get a lot of benefit of the doubt when it comes to things going wrong sometimes, because it's going to happen. But a lot of time, especially now, because a lot of events, like, they put the streamers like behind the curtain, like behind the main stage or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
So a lot, yeah, some events do that. Like some events, like, you can see us from where the crowd sits or anything like that, and then sometimes you just can't see us at all. Like, you see, like, you don't even see the casters. You see the stream on the projector, and that's it. And the players on the stage. But yeah, it's just like, I think if more people saw what went into this, then they would kind of understand. Like, a lot of the negative things that you hear from people when things go wrong, they either wouldn't say, or it just wouldn't be as often, because it's the internet. Someone's always going to say something somewhere. But yeah, I just think, for things to be more transparent, I think more people need to just do research, especially because they don't think about, like, the cost of doing this. Like, you got to get the equipment, you got to maintain the equipment, you have to transport the equipment. There's and they're computer parts, so they age. So eventually you'll get to an event, and then your I don't know, your video card or something like that will die, like, as you're trying to set up, and it's just like, oh man, I gotta find a Best Buy or something else like that to get this part on the spot. Like, there's a lot that really goes into this to make that good viewing experience. So I don't know. I just feel like more people need to think beyond just what they see, and think about, like, wow, okay, these are people that are working at a loss 9 times out of 10, trying to get a rig together to get you a viewing experience at home, or at the event, wherever you happen to be where you're watching this.
Hey, Mike, what's communication like when you get to these venues and you've had these kinds of problems? Communication between TOs, other streamers there, people running the events. Maybe you guys talk to some sponsors that are there. Like, what's the communication like? Hey, guys, we may have a problem here, but we promise we're on it 24/7 around the clock.
Usually, it really all depends about the framework that they have set up. Because if you have somebody who, say, like, one of our staples is that we always do Big E events. So if something happens at a Big E event, there are at least 2 or 3 people that we can reach out to and grab to let them know that there's a problem. And, like, the chain of command will eventually get that sorted to somebody who can, well, knock on wood, do something about it. There are a lot of times where on the, I don't want to say, like, local level, because I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to, like, shit on anybody in that aspect. When it gets down to, like, the smaller stuff, that's when the problems start, because it's a much smaller venue, and majority of the time the venue serves a secondary purpose, or more to the point, the event is the secondary purpose and something else is going on. So if something goes wrong, you got to reach out and hope that whoever you talk to knows what the hell is actually capable of being done.
Jeez, man. Hey, Rod, what's the mentality for you and the team, man, between something like Evo and something locally, like, maybe out of Brooklyn, or, the OS, or maybe even one of Biggie's smaller events, like, what kind of mentality do you guys get? Or you guys already just have everything at such a point where it's like, we're not hyping each other, you guys aren't hyping each other up. It's like, okay, there's a big, it's a big show coming up, and, we have to do our best. I mean, then again, you guys do your best every single time.
One term that comes up all the time for me is Murphy's Law, right? Like, anything that can go wrong will. I've definitely done events where everything has gone wrong, and yet somehow we managed to be online at some point, right? And then there's some times where, like, nothing's wrong, like everything works the first time, and I could just save my frustrations for the staff of the event, or the players, because they know if it's not our own work that frustrates me, is someone there that has nothing to do with anything. So I know particularly Mike likes this story. I tell this story all the time. What is it? 2015 TLC? Was it 2015, 2014?
I love that story, but that's not the one I'm laughing at.
Okay, all right. Well, if you doesn't, this is what this story is like. So we're doing TFC, and for that's the fall classic. That was
Fall
an
classic,
event.
yes.
Yes, that was an event that was ran. It started between Biggie, Final Round, and ECT. They all combined, joint forces to bring one event.
ECT was part of it. I thought it was just
yes,
Block
initially, and then I guess they stepped out
At the very beginning.
Yeah, the very beginning. So I think this is like their third year. This is their third, no, their second. Either
How
second
many
or
years
third.
did the TFC run again?
It did like what 4 or 5 years, I think.
Something
And
like
then that's
that.
it.
Really?
Yeah,
5
yeah,
years.
4 or 5 years. So this was like the second year, and we get in. I think this was the same year as the Storm, right? Yeah, it was the same year as the Storm.
That's the third
Yeah,
year.
yeah, it was.
The third year. So this is the third year. I know it was the same year as the Storm, and we just started. It's Saturday. We're getting going. We have Marvel, and the first match. It was like I don't remember who was playing. It was the first match, but I do remember. I believe he's from Atlanta. I could be wrong. Roach King was a big regional Marvel player. And he was on. He was Roach King, yeah. And he was on our stream commentating, and this match is nearing its conclusion. It's like probably like one combo from ending, and some idiot, I don't know who it is, some idiot. So the way we were set up is like we had an L, and we was here, and then commentaries on the other side of the L. With the L meaning we had tables shaped at the L, whatever.
Right.
Some random guy, like, decided that he can walk behind the stream setup, not being part of the staff, not being part of anything. He walks behind me, and as he walks behind me, he kicks out a power cord that was plugged into the wall. So the grace of it all was the stream was still going, blah blah blah, but the projector went out, so people in the venue couldn't see. So when I realized what happened,
so they went off.
Yeah. So when they were like, "Oh, what happened?" and I'm looking
A big
around,
collective. Oh,
yeah. And this is when I realized that he goes over to Roach King to give him a soda, and then he walks back, and I probably never looked at anyone else as evil as I looked at this kid to this day. It's true. And I'm like,
so you're saying he just barreled through?
he just barreled through. I kind of probably blacked out because I don't really remember because I was so mad. And all I remember was Mike being there and like kind of like reasoning with me to like calm down because I was literally gonna rip this head off. If you
don't bring this guy's neck, please.
Rodney was about to rage a demon. This kid.
If you ask any of these guys, I'm looking for a reason to hurt somebody in this community all the time because as much as we do for this community, sometimes they don't love us back. And so, like,
Can you imagine Ronnie doing the raging demon man? You know, he trying to like a third strike. You know, flames coming up.
It's that kind of thing that we deal with all the time, right? And I'm like, I used to say, if you guys wouldn't do this to Spooky, why would you do this to us? You know, you wouldn't walk behind Spooky, and not the name jock, because we love Spooky and whatnot. But yeah, like, why? Like, and that's kind of like this another part of what we have to deal with, like just people being absent-minded, not being aware of where they are, what they're doing. So yeah,
how annoying is that? You know,
we have our own problems. We have our own problems as it is. I don't need.
No. I mean, I know Mike is cracking up about it. So is Steve. But here you guys are. No, seriously. Here you guys are.
No.
You're trying to do a professional job, and you said it yourself. You wouldn't do that to Spooky. So why the heck are you doing it to us? How annoying is clout? You know, clout in this community.
Clout is you have to make another podcast to talk about that.
Yeah, that's another can of worms entirely. Like a completely different can of worms.
Dude, like I said, seriously, it should be a 4-letter word. That's how bad it is.
In the age of internet, it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we'll
to
get
swing
to
back
that.
to
But you
something
were.
real
I'm
quick,
sorry,
yeah.
Rod. Go ahead. Continue with the
Yeah.
story.
No, that conversation was like that would have to really be in my bag because I would definitely name drop and like if people didn't like me before, they would definitely not like me after that discussion.
Yeah.
But
Who the heck
the-
hates
the-
you, man? You're like one of the most
listen,
lovable human beings there is.
Listen, people hate lovable people. That's a fact.
Yep.
You know,
That is
maybe
fact.
their mama didn't love them as much, and they see me getting this love and they hate it. So, but no, again, it's part of the territory is what we do. You know, we got to answer the TOs, and then TOs don't always do the right thing. You know, so that's another discussion. You know, or don't allow us to be prepared to put on the best work possible. And you know, there's a lot of accountability missing in this community. You know, just look at Twitter this past week. You would know that. But
Who? Hey, wait, what happened? I wasn't paying attention.
yeah, I'm sure you was.
Don't play play dumb now.
We'll fill you in later if you really need to.
We'll get to that. Hey, you guys
I
attended basically. You guys, I think you guys basically attended almost all of the majors in 2022, right?
I believe so. Every major,
Yeah.
we've had some sort of representation. Anything that you consider a top major in this country this year,
Someone was there.
someone was there. I for some reason I could never make Combo Breaker. I don't know what it is about Combo Breaker, and I want to go.
You have to do Combo Breaker this year, Rodney. I'm tired of you like
You know,
I'm tired of you ducking Combo Breaker.
It's the weekend combo breakers on. It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Memorial Day
weekend
weekend
is
hard,
rough. Yeah. For some reason I'm going to try my best this year. But, you know,
We got to drag.
I did go.
there.
I did go to CEO this year. CEO was
Yeah, it was fun.
CEO was fun. We were actually there, the three of us, Rage and Aphro and I, to actually go to an esports summit. So we were there for that.
Yeah, Mike was
the-
telling me about that, man. This sounded like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's something.
Just all these
to
kinds of
definitely-
industries trying to get into the esports industry.
Yeah, it was cool.
and trying to tap the right people for work. So, you know, that's definitely something that you should look into if you're inspiring anything in the community and you're looking to do some work and stuff. You got to attend these events. And if you want to know more about it, you can definitely hit me up on Twitter. I'll be more than happy to talk about that and discuss.
Well,
share,
it's about
whatever.
networking, man. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes me and Mike talk about this at work. Sometimes people just have, you know, they lack, you know, the ability to network. You know, all they want to do is just stay local, but they have big aspirations to do bigger things. You know, sometimes maybe they think Evo's the end all be all for them and they don't look past that. But networking is one of the better things you could do, especially if you're trying to grow your portfolio, isn't that?
Well, that's not anyone's fault. If anything, like even me, like the first event of anything I ever heard of in fighting games was Evo, and I remember when Evo was it Battle in the Bay or B5?
Yeah.
Yeah, Battle in the Bay.
Yeah, so I those were like the first thing because they're the biggest tournaments. I guess if you're a wrestling fan, your first event you probably hear about WrestleMania, right? Because that's like their biggest event. So it's the same idea with HC, and then you realize, oh, there's more regional events. Oh, there's an event in my state. Oh, there's an event around the corner from me. You know, so it trickles down the deeper as you get into the community.
I don't know, man. Royal Rumble was always the bigger event for me.
Oh yeah, I always love
Fair.
Royal Rumble.
That's
Yeah,
like the big
it's
two.
fair.
Like, that's
My
like,
favorite Rumble.
like Mania and the Rumble are like the big two.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then SummerSlam, right?
Yep.
And then SummerSlam, yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, man. Now you can't mess with the 30-man battle royal. Too bad Kofi Kingston doesn't do his little magic anymore, right?
I think it's
Kofi deserves better. All right,
He does.
I will die on that hill. Okay.
What was it? Brock Lesnar beat him in less than a minute?
Oh my god,
18 seconds.
was it 18?
Was that faster than when Kevin Owens lost to Goldberg? Remember,
No.
Botchamania had the entire intro to
Oh, yeah.
the Kevin Owens Goldberg.
Yeah, like the only reason why the Lesnar and Kofi fight was longer was because they let the like full intros play. When when KO went against Goldberg, like that was at the Saudi show, so they were like, no, trying to
Oh, was?
expedite everything. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that was the Saudi. Yeah, that was the Saudi show,
Mm-hmm.
and they put the belt on him real quick.
Jeez, man. Hey, Deezee, rank these events, you know, from because we were just chatting about them, the majors, Evo, CEO, and Combo Breaker, you know, from top to bottom.
Like in terms of like being well known or like something like that.
No, for you,
Personal
just for
preference.
Oh, like my
for
personal.
being there.
So
Yeah, personal preference,
I've
because those are
so
the
out
big
of
three
those,
right now.
they
Hmm.
are. So out of those three, I've only been to Combo Breaker. I haven't been
Oh,
to an Evo.
I thought you've been to Evo.
No, I haven't been to Evo. I've been to CEO Taku, so I know what a CEO event is like, but not like the big CEO in June. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
so I have been to Florida. I have been to Jabali events. I can vouch for them, but um, so I can't really rank them because I've only been to one out of three. I can say that I I can't say that I've had a bad experience at Combo Breaker. I've been going to Combo Breaker since before I even joined KPV. I actually got my first medal at a Combo Breaker. I've got my first top eights at a Combo Breaker. I can vouch for it. But based on what I see about Evo and CEO, I always hear good things about CEO. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of discourse when it comes to its location, but I never really hear a lot of complaining about the event itself. So I can tip my hat to Jabali for doing a good job as far as that goes. Evo, from what I again haven't been, but from what I've been told and from what I've seen, I know that there was a little bit of a dip going towards he who shall not be named exit. But I heard that since it changed hands, that it has bounced back, and a lot of people have enjoyed. What was it? The last 2 years he's been heading it, because I know we skipped 2020, but they did 21 and
I think we
22, right?
skipped what Evo.
Yeah, did we skip 2021? I can't
There
remember.
wasn't 2021. 2021 was online.
Okay.
2021
Oh,
was
it was
online.
online. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Never
yeah.
mind.
2022
So
was,
yeah,
was, was
so yeah, 22 was the first offline when it came, after the pandemic started. So I heard a lot of good things about 22. So I'm hoping that 23 and beyond, it just continues to get better and better.
You were gonna say
I just
something,
want,
Rod? I saw you put in.
yeah, I just wanted just to say something. This is very important. Uh, None of these events are without problems. And
Of
that's
course.
not throwing shade at
I could
anybody.
imagine. I could imagine.
That's not throwing shade at any event. This is just the reality of it. It's just I feel like maybe some events have their problems magnified more than others.
Absolutely.
Um, but
Definitely.
I want to make that clear as someone who's watching this, and I wouldn't be fair in the community if I didn't state that none of these events are not without their problems. I guess it's
I
just a
mean,
matter of taking care of the problem as best as you can as soon as possible and moving forward from there, and that's it. So yeah, I just wanted to make that part clear because I don't want any misconceptions that there are perfect events out there. They're great events, but they're not perfect. No one's perfect,
hmm I
and
mean,
I just want to make that.
when you bring
Okay,
that
go ahead.
many people together, like that many players, spectators, all that stuff, like you're talking like thousands of people, right? So
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
you the goal is to make a good experience for as many people as possible, because the realistic part is someone that goes to your event might not have the best time. They might not,
Of
they might
course.
feel that they got shafted in the bracket, or they might have a minor altercation. They might feel snubbed because you know somebody didn't move when they said excuse me or something like that. It could be the smallest thing, and it could just ruin someone's entire weekend. So you know
Yeah.
like Rodney said, none of these events are perfect. um like I can vouch for my experience at these events. I've gone to events where I had a less than stellar experience. It just happens sometimes. But as a TO, I think as long as the goal is to please as many people as possible, everything kind of works itself out. I do agree that some events get the like it could be the smallest problem. It could be like player A was seated higher than player B, and it's just like, but depending on the event they're at, it could get blown up. It's a huge blow up on Twitter the weekend after, all that kind of stuff. Oh, this set of brackets wasn't streamed, or you know, oh, they streamed this match before this match. It's petty stuff sometimes. Like sometimes there are legitimate issues, but other times it's really just petty stuff that people just blow up because they want insert TO here to, I don't know. I can't speak for people's feelings, but I've definitely noticed the trend of You know, I've seen the same issue happen at more than one event, but you hear about it from one event, you don't hear about it from the other.
Yeah, like you
My rule
said,
of
the
thumb
majority
is
of the
always
time it's really petty, small things that it's like really you're wasting your time, complaining about this. But unfortunately, those little petty things, like you said, are the ones that get the most traction.
People like
And
drama.
it's just yeah, people love drama, people love that stuff. There are some members within the FGC who love that drama, and their following loves it. Guys like Punk, he tends to start drama all the time about really dumb little things, but hey, like people say, well, he's Punk. This is what he does, and it's just like, well, I mean, kind of making yourself look like a jackass, but that's
you're
neither
always
here nor
entitled
there,
to,
right?
you're always entitled to complain. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of who's going to listen. That being said, I always say this: 0-2 is on you. You know, you can blame. You know, I've seen complaints across the board. I've seen people complain about not having free water, and that's not really a tournament organizer's job to provide you, or you want a whole 3-course meal on top of that with your venue. Like help me out here.
Yo, if I'm paying what I'm paying, I better get all 5 courses.
I want the steak dinner on the setup when I sit down. Like I want everything.
I want that shirt.
Mind all that. Like I'm trying to see if there's like any turn down service afterwards.
People complain about not getting lanyards and stuff, and I'm like, most of these events
With a 5-course steak dinner, justify going 0-2.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
Is the experience.
Sometimes if the venue or area has good food, I don't care going 0-2. I'll just go 0-2 and go eat. Because
true.
Food.
This is not to be a ranking thing, but like one of the best parts for me about going to Evo is the food. Like,
oh yeah,
it's Vegas, man. The food better be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vegas, everyone, of course, Vegas, the first thing is like, casino and like gambling capital of the world and whatnot. But they have an exceptional, like, spread of food there. That, like,
oh, yeah.
You could definitely not eat the same thing twice in like a week.
Yep.
Is it because it's in the Mandalay Bay, or has it always been like that?
No, just the whole city. Like,
Vegas, period, is that.
This is just Vegas, period. Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I know I've taken Steven over to Tacos Agora, which is when every time I go to Las Vegas, I have to hit that spot up.
Yep, that's a must.
Get a beef tongue taco. Don't judge it because it's a beef tongue. It's really good. Try it.
It's the best beef tongue you'll eat.
Yep.
What's better, the Vegas food or those sandwiches at Big E events? I forget what's the name of the place that does.
Wawa.
Wawa is nothing.
That's not what he's here. That's not what he's
No.
talking about. Trust me. All right.
Thank God.
I know where you're going with this.
Is he talking about like fat sandwiches back in
Yes,
the
he is.
Apex
There you go. I
days?
think that's what it was.
Oh, the place in Jersey.
This was the Apex days, and we were in New Brunswick. And we were going to Apex.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So like a lot of the Jersey places had like the fat sandwich places, and we would get like the fat bitch or like whatever sandwich it was called.
That's what it is.
It was really called that. That's
what it was
called.
It was called the fat
Really called
bitch.
that.
So we can't change the name of the menu. All right, we have no control over that. It's not our fault that like on those like tournament weekends, whoever is like listening to the phone calls or like dealing with the like online chatter, those are going to be 2 trigger words that pop up way more. All right, you're going to hear somebody on the phone, like you're just going to be walking down the street, and the phrase "Can I get a fat bitch?" is going to be on everybody's tongue. All right, I'm sorry. All right, them sandwiches are delicious. Okay, it's not our fault. All right.
They are good. Yeah,
good sandwiches. I think I had so many in one weekend that was the first time in my life I had like heartburn.
I'm about to say, oh my God, your heart, dude.
No, yeah, like heartburn. No, because I think I only ate 2. But one of those. Like,
one's enough.
One is enough for you. Yeah, like for anybody.
I definitely had 2 in a weekend, and I said no more. Like it was the first time I experienced heartburn.
and he hasn't had one since.
Yep.
Yeah, that Roberto Duran. No mas. No mas.
I think I had one at an ECT, like when ECT used to be in Jersey. I had one there,
Mm.
and like I got the sandwich. I forgot the name of it. It was some crazy whack out name. And then looked at it, and before I even took a bite, I turned to my boy and I was like, "Yo, you want half of this?" Like I just knew that I was like, if I eat this whole thing, like my heart is just gonna stop, and then it's gonna be like, "What the hell happened to Deezee?" He's like, "Oh, well, got a sandwich in his hand. I think I could guess what happened."
Went out like
Like
Mommy
I didn't want to
Cash.
risk it. I didn't want to risk it. I was like, "Bro, just take half of this, please."
The Sony.
For context. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I don't want to say for context. We're talking about these sandwiches. It's literally like 3 proteins on the sandwich and like 2 sides that you would find in a fast food place and like all in one sandwich. So it'd be like gyro meat and like chicken fingers and like mozzarella sticks and French fries. And it's all in the sandwich.
And 3
It's just,
cheeses.
yeah, just to give you a picture of what these sandwiches were. So
Yeah.
What has the
Like Tyrone
Sony
Biggums
involvement
said.
meant for the big 3 events? Have you, I'm pretty sure it's the owners of the names that are dealing with them, but have they affected your work in any kind of way, or is it still, just cruising along and Sony really hasn't really stepped up and, affected anything of what you guys are doing?
is that my question?
Or
Whoever
whoever,
can
yeah.
answer it, I guess.
Well, okay.
Mm.
I think it's too soon. It's too soon to tell. People were like, we're still fighting to stay grassroots, which is, I understand it, but at the same time, you can't complain about like not having money in your community, but then still want to be like grassroots. And I think sometimes people want the scene to stay more grassroots because they don't want to be babied and checked and policed because yes, this was, it still is, but not on the same level. But it used to be a very, very bad community in terms of misogyny and like bigotry and stuff like that. And I'm so happy that we have so many women in our community playing at a high level too, and placing and commanding the respect of the community. Like I can't stress that enough. Like you can ask these guys. Well, that's one of the first things I wanted when I first started this group years ago. Like we've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go in that department.
Yeah.
So and the ones that push back at this are the ones that they want to still keep it a boys club. They still want to like talk the way they want to talk and say what they want to say and have no consequence for it. And like anything, times change and you got to change along with the times. And that's kind of the push. So when Sony stepped in, I think it was mostly those people that had a big gripe. And then the next group was probably the ones that wanted to operate without answering to anyone, which I find kind of wild because at the end of the day, you didn't create any of this stuff. It's not your IP. And if like Nintendo hasn't proven that with the Smash community over and over again,
Jesus Christ.
the rest of the FC has it really good. You don't see.
By the way,
Capcom.
sorry to cut you off, man. In case some people are unaware, but Sony has become involved, I believe, with a CEO, Combo Breaker, and Evo. Remind me, Mike, is ECT part of that as well?
If memory serves, I believe so.
So yeah, Sony, the big corporation, has basically stepped their foot in there, and they want to get involved within the FGC. But you have mentioned something, Ronnie, that a lot of people, we want to stay grassroots. What's wrong with just looking at the majors exactly as that, as the esports side of the FGC? And why don't we keep our locals to grassroots? Why can't they just, why can't they coexist like that? Why is it that when, people say esports, they think, we're talking about everything, even locals at next level? Why is it that people just can't differentiate the difference?
Because there's still a seedy underside to the community, right? I remember all the collusion jokes and memes and stuff. And guess what? That kind of all went to the wayside, but guess what? People still do it. People still do it. It's just not talked about, But yeah, there was a focus on that at one time, There was a focus on who slept with who, as if that mattered. It became a high school thing. And it's, in a lot of ways, the community is still very immature and like a high school popularity contest. And people sometimes want to keep it that way. I think, and this is not to insult anyone that's part of this community, but for some, this community is their entire life. And when you
Oh yeah.
take away the things in this community that they enjoy, whether it's for the greater good or not, they push back. So um, that being said, like I said earlier, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't look at Fortnite and Dota and want millions of dollars in prize pools, but you don't want to straighten up your act as a person. You don't want to behave, or you only want to misbehave in this community and then be okay in your personal life. That's not how it works, right? Like if you want these prize pools and these and this substantial money where you can actually really make a living, you know, how many people can say that they're a pro FTC player and can live off this without any other type? And I'm talking about just competing. I'm not talking about competing and streaming and making content and being a
I think
part
it's
of it.
almost
I'm talking about
impossible.
I'm
It's
talking about
impossible.
just going into a tournament, winning, and having yourself settle for a couple of months. You can't really do that in this community. Without all these things combined. And then if you do have all these things combined, you're probably making a decent wage, but you're not, say, like, you're definitely not a Dota player making that kind of money. You're not, these teenagers that won a couple $1 million a couple years ago in Fortnite. So if you want to get to that point, you have to show, that we're marketable as people, And again, with recent things that happen, that continues to push us back, where we're not marketable because we can't even be trusted to do things right in our own community as a collective.
And unfortunately, it always keeps happening. And no matter what, whenever we try to whenever we want to take 1 foot forward, two always step back. Something always happens that just brings the community backwards. And there's just, as long as you guys been doing it, and as long as I've known about it, it just never. It just seems like the future's kind of bleak, isn't it?
I wouldn't say
I wouldn't say
bleak.
bleak.
Yeah,
No, I wouldn't say bleak.
it's not that the
What would
future
you
is
say?
bleak. The thing is that notoriety denotes accountability. And that's the one thing that the FGC has always had an issue with. For as long as I've been around, and for all the things that I've experienced, both in front and behind the scenes, people don't want to be held accountable. And like Rod was saying a
I can't
second
deny
ago,
that.
you can't do that anymore. If you want to reach that level where you can, like, again, like Rod was saying, sustain yourself, financially, professionally, you can't do that and still try to be some bum ass dude from around the way who doesn't know how to act in front of people. All right. Like my aunt always used to have that expression. I'm sure all y'all heard it. You can't want everybody to take you seriously and then make it a habit of showing your ass every time you get in front of a camera. It don't work that way.
Nope.
They only
But
get you so
again,
far.
why is it impossible that both things can exist? Hey, let's have our goofy, stupid crap here at Next Level. Let Posey keep doing the demonic eight and have it run like he runs. I mean, guys like Posey know what level they're on, and they're more than
Well,
perfectly happy. But
Posey
I'm
isn't doing anything wrong. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just
no,
gotta
no,
say
no,
this.
he's
Posey,
not. But my whole point is,
it's a
he's got his
behavioral issue.
audience.
Yeah, it's a
But 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 my
behavioral
my
issue.
point is, why is it that the grassroots community, whatever it is that you want to call grassroots, cannot let majors exist as being part of the overall esports thing? It's like,
They
listen,
Because
view it
you
as
come
exclusion. That's
over
why.
here. I'm sorry.
They view it as exclusion. They view it as not being allowed past that velvet rope. As far as they're
it's
concerned,
grown adults
hmm,
not wanting to be told how to behave. That's all it
yeah,
is.
I said, like,
Are they
think
just
about it
afraid of the
like
real
this.
world? About how
A lot of them
the
are.
real world, about how the real world exists? The
A lot
rules
of
set
yeah.
there.
I'm not even gonna
Well, the
mince
real,
words. A lot of them are. All right.
yeah, the
Like
real world has
view it like
changed since
this.
things got started.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
All
Say
right.
again, Deezee.
Look at it. Yeah.
The real world has changed a lot since this whole thing started back in the 90s. Like, whenever you see someone say like, oh man, like the new FGC is so soft, and
Yeah, which is actually a phrase going around right now.
yeah, like they say that they afraid of like woke culture and cancel culture and stuff like that, and it's like you guys used to beat people up in arcades because they grabbed you twice in a row. Like you really want to go back to that? But
Hmm.
but you can't throw slurs at people on stream and then you're mad because they got held accountable for it. Like come on.
Let's
But
see. My best example is to think of it like this. Imagine you're going to a nightclub. When you're outside on that line, for all intents and purposes, you can do whatever the hell you want. But the second you cross that velvet rope, you got to act right. And not enough people can act right to get inside the club.
I tell
As,
you,
as
man,
grown adults, you want to have fun, but not be told what to do. Like,
Yeah, people
which
just
is
want to
crazy
act a fool.
because we have kids in the community that act better and are more mature than like the older people in this community. So it's like, it's a blemish on gaming culture. Like we're still looked at as like, you know, these
Basement
like
dwellers.
basement dwellers who don't know how to act, who are awkwardly social. I mean, I'm sorry, socially awkward. Excuse me,
Mm.
awkwardly social. um,
Same difference, really.
it's the same thing, right? And yeah, and outside of pressing buttons, you can't act properly in public. Is that a
You can't
thing? Like,
function. That's the thing.
you can't. You
A lot of them
you know,
can't.
and people will be quick to diagnose it as some sort of maybe spectrum thing or whatnot, but it's just them not wanting to be told what to do in this, I guess, world that's outside of their real life, right? Because for a lot of us, whether we like it or not, it's also an escape, right?
Right.
Sometimes I look
yes,
forward to these
of
events.
course.
Sometimes the 9 to 5 hustle and bustle of my personal life and whatever, it weighs on you. And sometimes I just want to get away and hang out with my friends. Sometimes I only see these guys
Of course.
because of my life, when we get to do these events. So yes, it's an escape, and it doesn't mean I don't know how to act like a human being. That doesn't turn off,
Right.
But apparently it does for some people, and which is confusing to me. So that's where we stand, and that hasn't changed a whole lot. It's gotten better. It's gotten better. There was a time, especially like I said, this community is still misogynistic, above a lot of other things. But there was a time where like you really couldn't be in these spaces as a female, especially if you weren't actually trying to play the game, because then that you were already labeled as something else. Um, and while we moved on from that, we've gotten a lot better. We still have so much work to do, but not just on that end. Just as again, you want the money but don't want to sit upright. So
Can't have
make a decision. And guess what? And to answer your question, Rafa, actually they both can exist, because you can go back and be in a little corner, being a little boys club, and do what you do, right? That still goes on, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's just that don't mix the two when it's time for you to be in front of the cameras and represent a brand, because everybody wants to be sponsored, but they don't know what it comes what it comes with to be a brand ambassador for someone, right?
Of course.
We've had so many figures in the community come and go because on paper they're great competitors, but that's where it stops, right? um they don't know how to, again, behave themselves. They don't know how to represent them, and sometimes it's not always a bad thing. It's just probably just not your strength to be like a spokesperson. You have to be somewhat of a selling point, and sometimes, as good as you can be as a competitor, a prospective sponsor needs a little more than that. They need a personality. I get kids all the time and parents of kids, and they know what I do, and they say, "How do you get into this stuff?" Blah blah. I'm like, and my answers change as the years go by, because now today what I tell these people, these kids, and these parents of these kids and stuff is like, I tell them everybody's doing this now. Kids are doing this, grandparents are doing this. Everyone, every walk of life, every age is doing this. you have to market yourself so that it's a difference between every time you turn on your stream and it's 5 viewers as compared to 500. Right? You have to now. It's because everyone's doing this. You have to stand out. It's not just, oh, people are going to watch me play a game, I'm going to make money. It's people are going to watch me play a game, and I'm going to, interact with the people that are watching it, and I'm going to probably be at least somewhat really good at what I'm doing, and I'm going to offer things that other streamers don't, so that you can come back, right? Because that's the misconception now, right? It's like I can just turn on a game and play, and I'll make money. While there is some truth to that, depending on who you are as a person, you have to put in the work like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I mentioned it plenty of times in other podcasts. Being a content creator is a full-time job. And also, one thing a lot of people don't get, and it correlates to what you said, the combination of skill and charisma, it's very rare. That's the thing that sells. That's what sponsorships want. Hey, you could press buttons, all right, but we need you to be a spokesperson. We need you to be out there in front of a camera once in a while, and that's just something that a lot of people, that's not in their Rolodex. They don't have that skill. Pressing buttons could only get you but so far.
It still brings you to the dance. It's still, if you're winning, that's still a good look. But
Of course.
But again,
No, but even
more.
like you said, man, just being a competitor alone, and like Deezee said as well, it's impossible to make a living just being a competitor in the FGC.
It's very impossible. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the best players in the world are making other sources of income than their tournament winners. Like they have day jobs. They have regular 9-to-5s, or the sponsor pays them a salary, or they have like Twitch or YouTube revenue. Like it's not just go to tournament, win. Because a lot of these modern games, like especially like Street Fighter and Tekken and KOF and games like that, these games are so sweaty that you could see like 2 events of the same caliber and get a completely different top 8 both times. You're not, you could be as good as you want, but you're not always going to win. You're not always going to even place. Like, it's just not realistic to expect, hey, I'm really good at this game. I'm going to, go to tournaments and just, beat a traveling warrior. I'm just going to make money from these events and just live off that. No, you need the money to get to the event in the first place. So if you can't afford a flight and a hotel room and registration, it don't matter how good you are.
Right.
And that's why I tell people they get discouraged when they go 0-2. I'm like, look, at least you went. There's a lot of people who talk a lot of crap and don't even go to these things.
Listen, if you don't come out in first place in most of these events, you're not even going to have your flight and venue and hotel covered. No. So this is why
90% of the people go when they're lost.
Yeah, you go to loss. So and then you make decisions to like lessen the blow, right? Like most of us do not stay in a room by ourselves because we want to save money, So we stay in groups, that helps lessen the cost. You want to pre-register on time, early. If you're going to an event, it's the difference between, paying $60 or paying 120. So
which apparently I heard it's still a problem that a lot of people don't believe in pre-registration.
That's fine. You're only making these events more money. The same people that complain that these events make too much, right? So, but they make too much because of last minute people like yourselves, who don't plan properly to go to these events, And thank God we're like, I think we're past that, because we had these years where it was like, Evo time to raise money in June. And I'm like, so they go on these streams and they go on these crowdfunding streams and this, that, and the third. I'm just like, dog.
Yeah, they still do it, but they do it a little earlier in the year now. Like usually, like
shit is
March,
embarrassing.
April-ish.
All right,
it is.
I'm not even gonna lie. That was embarrassing back in the day.
I'm talking about 3 weeks before Evo when they closed registration 2 weeks before. Okay, so people were doing that back in the day, And that means how expensive flights are at that time.
Yep.
If you're trying to buy a flight to somewhere 3 weeks out, The hotel's probably booked out, so you might have to get off venue. If it's why. And these are perennial people that will go to these events at the same time every year. So why are you doing this to yourself? So it's asking the community at large to be mature and responsible is a big task.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's a big task, and we see it and we laugh, but it's kind of sad at the same time. We want to hold people. We want people to be professional. That's what being a pro player is. Pro comes from the word professional. Be a professional at what you do, right? Shake your opponent's hand. Prepare, practice, study, whatever it is you need to do. And then none of these people that are last minute ever win. Right? They never win anything
Never.
because it's your total lack of preparedness, and it shows. Right? That time you're sitting there putting on a BS stream to raise money, you should be practicing, and stuff. So yeah, it's just like it's not as rampant as it used to be, but yeah, Deezee said it still happens, and it's things like that, and that has nothing to do with it being grassroots or not. It's literally in the name of what you are trying to be. It's being professional at what you do. It's not a hard.
Deezee, how do you juggle being a bracket runner, running around helping the stream out, and being a competitor? How hard is that?
It depends on the event I go to. Because some events I go to, I'm willing to do multiple things, and some events it's just like, all right, I'm competing, hard focus, like I'm not doing anything else. Usually when I do like when we do biggie events, I'll bounce around and like I'll like just this past NEC like last month. I competed in KOF, got 13th. After my bracket was done, I went over to the stream. I started cutting instant replays. So it's like I had it in my mind like I'm only playing one game. The game's not going to run that long because I think we only had like 45-ish, something like that, players. So I was like, okay, if I make top 8, unfortunately, I'm going to have to focus on that. If I don't, when I'm done, I'm just going to go and start helping the stream out. So it's kind of like budgeting your time, like you just have to go in and think, okay, what am I doing? What is it possible for me to do? Now it's easier when we do things like combo breaker and things like that, because like if we go to an event and we're not streaming, then I know that I can just hard focus on playing. Unless something comes up like like last Frosty where I was only planning on playing, but then Steve comes to me one day and is like, hey, they need us to run this setup. You want to make a couple dollars? I was like, all right, sure. Like not how I plan on spending my Sunday, but if I'm gonna make some money, sure, why not?
I went to just chill and whatever, and then
right.
It was like, oh, we need people. Are you available? I'll pay you this much, and then I was like, all right.
All right. It was a good number.
How much do you guys go out of your way to help other streamers that may need help setting something up, or hey, I'm done with my duties, but this dude right here needs needs some help to try to get the job done ASAP, or maybe alleviate some of some of the stress that they may be having. Is that something normal for you guys and the streaming community, production community in general? Helping each other out as much as possible?
Yes. We want to have everybody up at the same time running so that, everybody starts on time. Some people have like technical difficulties with the audio system. Sometimes the camera don't work, or they have like with us on NEC, I left some HDMI cables at home, so I had to go scramble around asking, see who has extra, stuff like that. And I'm glad.
I think it's a semi-normal occurrence.
Yeah, it's normal.
We don't.
Everybody helps each other.
Yeah, we help each other.
It's a close knit community, huh?
It's close knit. I think people may want to believe that there is some competition between streamers, and there's some truth to that. Like, we want to be the best at what we do. We want to have, uh, the gig, so to speak, and the different things to do. So, we out there hustling like everyone else. But when you're, it's always about thinking about the bigger picture. When you're part of something bigger, you kind of want everyone to kind of like make sure that this product is working like well. Like, uh, yes, we have people that we definitely like we partner with and we work and we go out our way, and there's others that like they're part of their, they're part of the event. They need a SDI cable. They need whatever they need. If we have it, we definitely give it to them. It's not hurting us, you know, and
Mm.
hopefully that helps us in the future in case we ever run into a problem and we need a miscellaneous cable that we happen to not have or it broke or because you can never have enough of anything in this kind of work, right? Like I think packing to have just about enough is a bad idea
Mm.
because 9 times out of 10 something will like break or not work properly or something else comes up that wasn't planned in like the workflow of the stream where we need to have that extra component and for example if you've known about like capturing older cabinets like CPS2 boards, CPS3 boards, you need specialized equipment that is hard to get and not many streamers have, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of glad you mentioned that because a lot of people forget, man. These the retro communities, they don't use emulators, they don't use PCs.
No,
You know,
Hell
these
they
are
no.
use
authentic
they
equipment.
use these arcade boards. What are they called? They have a certain name, right? Super guns, are they called?
Well,
Hmm.
that's one way of doing it, but some of them are the actual arcade machines. The Astro City cabinets with the original boards. Super
Yeah,
guns
and
tend to be slightly modified or like restored from older boards.
yes,
So, but a lot of the arcade in this community, the arcade scene is alive and thriving, and we play a lot of events on actual Astro City cabs. So this is not something. These cabs are not something where you can just plug in the HDMI and capture it
of course
on your
not. No, I
on
mean,
your on your on your Elgato. Like they they
not because
require
this is literally '90s hardware
right.
software
Hmm.
trying to
Yeah.
integrate it with stuff from 2020. It's not
Right.
easy.
And a
No.
lot of times, if you can't find these items that help you to capture it, you have to have your own proprietary stuff, and that comes out of parts if you don't know someone that can make it for you or have access to it. So, yeah, we things like that. We've covered retro games in the past, like CBS2. I believe we did Thirst Strike maybe once ever, and it requires those types of equipment. Or you're not streaming it. You know,
Mm.
so everyone plays an essential role, and the more you're willing to help out others in events like this, the longer it goes a long way for you and your team and your community.
Yeah, man.
When
Personally, I
you're
think
talking, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
like personally, like the best example I can think of what Rod just talked about, coincidentally, was that TFC a couple of years ago when that storm hit, because that shut down the power, like dead stop, about I want to say 3/4 of the way through that Saturday. So instead of like everything basically devolving into widespread panic, everybody came together, all the streams, everybody who was with the TO staff, and even a couple of the players. Like they made sacrifices, DQ'd themselves, so that whenever the power came back on, we can hit the ground running. And I always remember that event because we lost power like I think want to say like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then after like everybody kind of like settled down, figured out what was going to happen, we talked to the venue and everything. They told us when the power was going to be coming back. Like the next couple of hours was just game planning it about how we're going to finish this tournament. And push came to shove, everybody came through that Sunday. And not only were we able to catch up, but we were able to like get back on schedule because again, everyone came together to make that work.
No, man, that's awesome to hear. That even in the production community, at least everybody has what's best out for each other, at least in these big events, and I'm pretty sure local events. And it's always good to hear when people get together to try to make it as tight a ship as possible in whatever circumstances that present themselves.
Agreed.
So that's always a good thing to hear. And what about you, Mike? Obviously you're part of the production team as well. That's why we're here. You also commentate. So how do you go about doing both things at events? How do you split your time?
Basically,
From commentating, whatever game it is that you're on deck for, versus helping out Rod, Deezee, Steve, Lou, Retro Station, to do everything else.
generally, it always, like Deezee was saying earlier, it always boils down to time management. Because there are going to be some days where I've been at events and I've been on the mic for like anywhere from 7 to 13 hours straight, mainly because and either they need people to cover these games or somebody didn't show up, and now magically there's this gigantic hole in the commentary schedule. Somebody's got to be put in spot. So on like those heavier days, it's basically about like being ready and being punctual, because commentary is still a part of production. I don't think a lot of people fully grasp that, because if a commentator is not there and if a commentator is not cooperative, that derails the whole production. So
No, we've
for
been
me,
talking. I'm sorry.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
no, go ahead.
like
Finish
so
up.
for me, whenever it comes to like those really heavy days, it's simply a matter about again like budgeting my time, figuring out where I got to be and when. And like for the lighter days when I'm only covering like maybe one or two games, I'll do mine on a particular block. If anybody that's like running the rig like needs food, needs water, need a drink or anything, then like I'm free, I'm available, I'm not involved with anything. I can go take care of stuff like that, because again, like I said, that's a part of making sure that the machine keeps running, no matter how long we're on, online for, no matter how many games got to get streamed. As long as everybody is like cycling through, we always have fresh bodies on the rig. That's what makes us work. I think that's honestly one of the strengths that KPB has always had, because we don't workhorse anybody. Like between Rod, Steve, Deezee, and Retro, yeah, I'm probably going to be running my mouth for like 6, 7 hours a day. But those four, they're constantly cycling through. One of them takes care of the cameras. One of them takes care of the stream. One of them's taking care of like instant replays, and like every couple of hours, shift change basically. And those guys, they keep it running. They keep it going. That's why everything we do always comes out so smooth. Provided there aren't any external problems that we can't control. So yeah, I always give them a lot of credit. And as far as working in commentary, when it comes to again being a part of the production, you got to know your role, for lack of any other way of saying it. You're a troubadour. You're the MC of what's going on. You're the host of that show. So now you got to make sure that everybody that's watching knows what the hell is going on. And for anybody who is, as I always say, uninitiated in the process, you got to be that little bridge of information between what they don't know and what they're going to find out. So that's one of the main things that I always make sure is top priority. I need to know what the hell I'm talking about. I know it might sound pretty like passe or simple, but you would be surprised and mortified about how many times I've seen people get put on the mic and they either become the deer in the headlights, or you can clearly tell they're BSing to the point where, all right, now you're really just trying to stretch out something you have no idea what you're talking about. And that brings everything down. So yeah, it can get tense. But again, as long as you pay attention to what you're doing, as long as you know the game, which I know sounds simple, but it's very, very important. And as long as you're fully aware of, again, like I said, where you fit within that grand tapestry, you'll be fine.
Hey, Rod, you were a stream manager for DTN, were you not? Were you like, or you
Several
were like
times.
the manager for? I'm sorry.
Several times, in fact, several years I've done that with DTN. Yeah.
How's that like, man? You got your own team, and You want to make sure that everything is running well with you and your team. But like, how is it having to deal? Defend the North. Obviously, it's a quote unquote New York major. It's the big one locally. Um, you tend to get along with a lot of the people here in New York City, and you got made stream manager. How does
Depends on who
that
you
work?
ask. Get along. Depends on
I think
who
you get
ask.
along with everybody. What the heck do I know?
But I think every event has this person or should have this person. I think for D10, this is one of the events where that position is actually defined by the event for me. So, yeah, it's just making sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of stream wise and producing content for the event. Um, is it can be a point of managing personalities, um, managing different people and their approach as to how they do work. Um, so like I say this all the time, right? Like people ask, well, how do you stream? How do you go? What do you buy? Uh, there's no right way to do this. Um, everyone has a different flow, workflow as to how they produce a streamed event. We're no different than that. Uh, what seems to work or what makes sense to us and people that we work with is to prepare for redundancy, and by that meaning having different components for the stream so that if something goes down, we can then work with it while keeping the stream afloat. Um, when we first started doing this stuff, it was everything on one PC, right? So, which means a capture card and blah blah blah. Again. So, if the PC goes out, what happens, right? No stream, right?
Yeah.
Now we have all these different components to where if something goes out, it may it may or may not reflect on the stream, and even if it does, we can still somewhat keep the stream going if it comes down to that, while we troubleshoot that situation. Um, for me, I believe this is the preferred method. This is how you want to do. This is like imagine watching AEW and then it just went off there, right? Because you find out everything that was being done on one central system, right? Of course, if you ever watch live TV, things happen. Things get messed up. The show still goes, right? How many times have you seen the camera get knocked over or cut off? And not kayfabe. This is real, right? It's the same. It's the same idea when you're doing production for these events, right? You want the show to continue to go. Our community has a small attention span. So guaranteed, you put on a be right back sign on your stream, you're losing half your viewers. It's stuff
Right.
like that you don't want to do. I mean, unless you have to, if it's like a game change or whatnot, and then those people will come in for that game. But like, if we have to go to break because there's an issue, we can potentially lose viewers. And again, it can't be helped. We got to do what we got to do at the end of the day. But when you have, your workflow set up the way we do and others do, there's less likely for things like that to happen where we have to take the stream off the air. Because that used to suck. Steve and I can tell you, we've done so many events over the last decade, and, to have down, I remember one time, I can recall one time when we used to do the Proving Grounds. Was that the Proving Grounds in Philly?
Yeah,
Steve,
The Rebel?
Holiday.
Yeah, the Rebel Proving Grounds, yeah, the Holiday Inn.
I
We
remember those.
thought that this is back and still in the days of everything on one PC, and we, I mean, Steve is our tech guy. Like Steve is like, if Steve can't figure it out, usually no one can.
He's the
Um,
best.
He
Yeah, you saw
definitely
how he
keeps
gave
us
that sound. Now he's like, "You're damn right, I am."
he keeps us afloat all the time. Even there are times I've definitely fumbled the stream, and like Steve comes to the rescue. So based on our expertise, this one event, we seriously thought that our power supply had died, and because we thought that, we went out to like a micro center, which is the only thing that you can find on a Saturday that would have that we can like, put back on. So we literally left the stream. This is like a whole day stream. We left the stream for a total maybe hour and a half. And this is between taking out the power supply, going to Micro Center, finding the power supply that didn't break our pockets at the last second, running back, installing the power supply. Then it didn't work, only to find out that it was like breakers that went off in the hotel and we weren't getting power.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that the one where like we turn the monolith on and the whole row of setups went out?
Yep.
Well, I mean that's
I remember
regular
that one.
event stuff. This was like literally like Kyle. I'm shouting out Kyle this one. This is Kyle's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Big E's Kyle.
He came through
This
for
was
us.
the
when that
daisy
happened.
chain incident. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
daisy
remember
chained our
this.
power somewhere, and we lost power. And because of that, we scrambled like we lost our freaking minds. Because this is what professionals do, right? We just don't say F it. Like we try our best to make sure this thing comes back up.
Well, of course, yeah.
And you know how many times we spent money last minute to like make sure something's on our stream, right? And it was all of that for nothing because it wasn't even our power supply's fault. It was the fact that the power was rerouted in a way where we weren't getting it, which is why we couldn't get power to our stream. So, yeah, these kind of things, like going back to the whole like stream manager DTN stuff, and just in general, like you have to just make sure that everyone's running ads. When you on the production side, there's a lot that we have to answer to when it comes to sponsors, right? Sponsors give money to said event, and in exchange, you have to advertise stuff. Advertisement comes in many forms. It comes in the form of stills, commercials, or just being spoken of the product by casters. Sometimes if you go to any event, there's a lot of logo placement. We have banners that have these events. These product sponsors pay this event to do that. And then this is how like events are able to cut the cost of things, being able to pay people. Because for the most part, most of these events, and again, I'm not here trying to get into anybody's budget on how things work or whatnot. That's not my job. But this is how people are able to be paid for the work they're doing for these events, right? Because if they don't get the sponsor money to help offset the cost of running an event, you're seeing red most of the time, right? So this is an important thing. Even in events where I'm not the stream manager, I know the importance of how we have to run ads on our stream, because this is how the event gets paid. And if the event gets paid, then it's more than likely we get paid, right? So just like any job, you got to do your part to make sure that the company gets paid so you can get paid. And so the stream manager part again is making sure everyone's on their P's and Q's when it comes to the collective of bringing these different games onto the big screen, so that the sponsors are happy. They see their product, being flashed on the screen or in the little layout on the bottom. Any stream you watch nowadays, you see all the logos for everything sponsored out on the bottom between matches or between player shots and cam shots. All of that is there because they need to focus on these sponsors. The sponsors can then pay this event. So that's like a big aspect of what I do as a stream manager. A lot of that also this year with DTN is having a commentary pool up and running. Just making sure that all the streamers have the proper assets for the stream and they're all on the same page. With we had to run a show this year, so we're like making sure that everyone's on the run a show, so it keeps track of what's going on. Also keeps track of us running ads, so we have evidence to say to said sponsor person, hey, look, we ran your ad X amount of times during this day, that day, whatever. Here's a sheet. It corresponds to if you look at our archive. So there's because yes, these sponsors will watch your stream and will make sure that you are holding up your end of the bargain. So that's part of like my position when it comes to like stream management and stuff like that.
I like that we basically covered almost a lot of the places you guys went through the years. A lot of you guys went to Evo, Combo Breaker, CEO, other places, just not those big three. You obviously did a lot of stuff here in New York. I know Deezee, he doesn't live in New York, but when he can, he comes up to help out whenever it's possible, especially at Big E events out in Philadelphia. And again, you guys do as good a job as you possibly can. But let's put that for a little side and let's focus on DTN for a little bit. when it was announced that DTN was going to go all PC, and I kind of forget who started this revolution that all of a sudden everything FGC has to be PC. Did that throw any kind of monkey wrenches on the way you guys approach anything to set up or expectations? Any
No,
no, none at all.
no.
Didn't
No,
do anything.
It's the same thing.
It
Consoles.
didn't really affect you guys, did it?
No, it doesn't
No.
affect us. Very,
How
very.
about everybody else?
Everybody else, yes.
I've heard the city to me that the frame rate was so fast that they weren't used to playing at such a fast frame rate. This is stuff I
God
heard,
forbid,
overheard over the, which I think is kind of silly. But
Yeah, people were
again,
dropping
I'm
the
not the
because
one trying
the
to.
timing was different from the consoles and stuff.
Yeah,
Deezee, why did everybody take that ball and run with it? Did nobody see the possible problems that may have come with jumping to PC like so soon, so quickly?
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Like, PC, most of these games, not all of them, but most of these games, the PC port's going to be the most optimal port in terms of like what you can do with it. Like, you can get the max frame rate, you can get, the lowest input delay, and like all this other kind of stuff. And ideally, a lot of people want that. There's nothing wrong with wanting that, but the problem you run into with PC is that not every computer is going to run every game the same way. Like, you can load up, I don't know, you can load up KOF 15 on someone's $1,500, almost $2,000 rig, and it'll run perfectly. But you can also run it on someone's toaster laptop, and it'll be worse than the PS4 version. So I get why people want it, but there's also the fact that like my PC at home might not be like the PC that'll be at an event. So when Steve was saying like, oh, a lot of people were dropping combos and missing timing and things like that, you have that issue. It's like, okay, they probably do play on PC at home, but they're not playing on this PC, so they have to get used to that and change their timings a little bit and things like that. You also have the issue of like some people don't play on PC at all, so they got to get used to that because they're used on console. But as far as streaming it, I don't see, like, we didn't really have any major issues if I recall correctly. Because I was watching, I didn't go to
it's
PC.
the same idea. It's the same idea. It's just capturing.
Yeah, it's just
nothing
capturing.
changes in that. Yeah.
No, because like when we do big events, like if I don't go, I tune in because I'm out of the channel and everything like that. Make sure the chat's good. But yeah, like we didn't really have any major issues. The issues were mostly on the players not being used to the platform because, like you said, it was just a sudden shift, and a lot of people just weren't ready to make that transition. But I think on a game by game basis, there's like things are slowly starting to improve on both fronts, like both PC and console. Like I know that I know recently they're starting to fix a lot of PS5 versions of games to emulate the input delay on PS4 or even the PC port. So it's like, I think eventually we might reach that point where the platform of choice is a non-issue. I mean, aside from what input device that they want to use, but that aside, in terms of like the game performance, it's low. It's not rapid, but it's slowly starting to become more uniform between, depending on the game. Like not every game is like that. Some games are older than others. Some games are not being supported by devs anymore, so they're not really going to get much of anything going forward. But it's as far as the PC environment for tournaments, it's starting to get better. I don't think we're at the point where it's going to be standard yet, but it's starting. We're making progress.
Who even started this whole PC brigade anyway? I mean, who was the person?
It's a couple of people.
I mean, and by the way, so far DTN has been the only one that's done everything PC. I don't believe Big E did any C on PCs, right?
The
only thing PC wise he's done in the last couple of years was DOA 6.
DOA, right?
And yeah, that was a community effort thing. That was a community effort. Community came in and bought, I think, like eight PCs. Because
the community itself, the DOA.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the community preferred the frame rate on the consoles wasn't optimal. So that was a big reason why DOA 6, from what I understand, didn't do well in its time, because the console sales halted because the frame rate was horrible for whatever reason, and it was never patched or anything like that. So the community moved to PC to play the game. They deemed the game unplayable on console, basically. So
So is it
that
safe
was the
to
only
Yeah,
say?
time. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go
I,
ahead.
I think PC was the compromise because I know from what I understand, the Xbox port is okay, but a lot of people didn't have Xbox peripherals. They didn't want to buy converters and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff that works on the modern consoles these days also works on PC. So they were just like, okay, we'll just put it on PC, and like that's what they settled on.
Jeez, man.
But
Okay, but
yes,
like you
you're,
said, in the
you're
future,
correct.
though,
Yeah.
there's going to be a compromise over which one is best for whatever event, right? It's either going to be PC or console, or and there's just going to be a happy medium, right?
Well, what's missing here is still how pricey PCs are. You know, on when it comes to logistics and cost effectiveness, like and like Didi said before, you don't want to buy a bunch of different PCs that have different specs. So if you're doing an event, you want everything to have the same specs, so everything's the same situation across the board, right? Um, and then I can go on the limb and say like these PCs using DTM were better than recommended specs, you know, um, thanks to the sponsorship. So if you had to front that cost on your own as a TO, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. This is, you know, I want to
So he
say,
had help getting all this equipment.
well, yes, it was sponsored. It was a sponsored event. It was sponsored by MSI, so they provided the PCs. Um,
Now,
and this is
who's
this
MSI? In case nobody knows who they are.
MSI is one of the prominent computer PC companies.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this is no shade on DTN. This is what it is. It would cost a ton of money otherwise to outfit an entire tournament with PCs. Otherwise, um, only things that weren't PC obviously were the retro games, and then like what Smash, anything Smash related in DTN. So anything that had a PC version of it was on there. Um, yeah, it's not cheap. So that's what the part that people forget. This is the one of the main reasons why it hasn't been done is because the money involved. Again, the FTC, we're in the bottom of the totem pole, and that has not changed in my time in this community. When it comes to money coming into this community, we're at the bottom. So yes, you want PC, but don't compare our community to a League of Legends community that has to play on PC. You know,
I
or
don't even think you could compare us to the Farm Simulator
but
esports.
but but that's where it comes from. We are compared to it because yes, they have a lot of money coming in compared to us. So you can't expect any event to outright out of their pockets front a whole FTC event full of PCs. Who knows what plans MSI and DTN have in the future, but if we don't have this help and we don't have this money coming in, this is not happening. So I do give respect to DTN for pulling that off and having that event. Is it sustainable for them in the future? It's not for me to say, but I'm definitely giving you the idea that it may not be.
Jeez, man. Did you reach all your goals you wanted in 2022?
As a team, not at all. No, not at all. We
What could you improve upon?
um we always talk about having a better social media presence. And then it's literally just getting our ducks in a row, right? Like just getting everything, settled so that we can move on to the next step. And that's we've had discussions about that a lot lately. So we definitely want to turn that around this year and be a better organization for the community and for ourselves. So that's just one of many things that we want to work on to just be more efficient as a team. And again, we're always looking for opportunities and stuff to just always display our craft. Because we've had prominent figures in the community give us all the love, and they would ask, why do you operate from the shadows? And I'm like, that's not intentional. It's just we've been in a position where we're constantly overlooked. This is still a community of not what you know, but who you know. And there are a lot of people and orgs and groups in situations that they shouldn't be in and they can't even handle. But because they know the right people, that's why they're there. And I'll say that I not afraid. I've said that on social media. I'm always going to have a professional tongue, but I'm also not going to stay quiet about how I feel about our place in the community, because again, this community doesn't always love you back, no matter what you do for them, and that has an effect on you and the things that you do. And there's always an idea of, do you want to continue this? How long do you want to continue this? Is the frustration worth it? And then I say all that, and then there's always the one person in Twitch chat that says thank you KPB, and that makes all of this worthwhile for me anyway. So
Yeah, agreed.
What about you, Mike and Deezee and Steve? Do you guys feel the same sentiments?
Y'all go first because I got something to say. So
Right, got me all ready to listen. Now pretty much what Rodney said is pretty much the same thing. It's like, we know where we are and we know where we want to be. It's just the path you have to take to get there, right? Like that's the challenge. So we're always thankful when people are grateful for the work that we do. But you're always gonna have those detractors out there. Like I think Rodney said it a while ago. Like, there's people out there who aren't gonna like you just because other people like you. Like, it's just gonna be like that. But as long as we do our best and we're satisfied with our work, like we we can make our goals, and if we don't, then we can at least get the feedback we need to make our goals at a later time. Um, I've been with the team for, what's it, 2023. So this is like, what, sixth or seventh year, something like that. It's been a while, but I've never felt like we couldn't overcome any shortcomings that we have. Like, every time we hit a wall, we band together, we put our minds together, and we do our best to get past it. And if the issue keeps coming back up, then we just keep trying again. Like, we don't give up. Like, whenever we hit an issue, we just don't give up. And I think that's what's important to maintain a presence in a community like this for so long. Because KPB's been around a long time. Like, when did you guys start? Like 2010, 11, something like that. It was earlier than that, I think.
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Feels like 20 years, right?
20 years. 11 years.
Oh my God, I'm
it feels
100.
like 20 years.
Your math's not mathing. That's been
That's
the theme
it
this week.
feels.
Yeah, but it's like, when you do this for so long, like, you meet a lot of people, you see a lot, you go to a lot of events, you see a lot of games come and go, and it's just, as long as someone out there is enjoying our work and they're grateful for our work, then I'm satisfied. Obviously, I want us to do the best that we can, but if we're making people happy along the way, I'm good with that.
Steve?
I agree. I agree with Rodney. Our social media presence is horrendous. We have, been having meetings talking about it, making it better, in the coming months. This year for me was really good. I went to a lot of events. I worked a lot of events. I even did a concert, which is amazing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I did the
man.
Kalani concert.
The who?
Kalani?
Kalani.
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
She's a R&B singer.
I'm
Okay.
Kalani. I guess what we're failing to mention is that our production work also goes way out of the FCC. Like we just it's things like this that allow us to stay afloat and at the same time like perfect the craft. Like he was able to go out to do a concert. I was able to go out to do a convention in LA. You know, these are things that
Yes, we
as a
did.
result of what we do. Yeah, I also did a concert. I did a concert in DC for Essence Magazine. So this is you know we have been rewarded for our hard work by having these opportunities outside of the community. You know, and I'm definitely thankful for being afforded those things, and I'm sure Steve is as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, just want to point that out there that our work, because of the FTC, which is always going to be our love and our home, has afforded us to do things outside of the FTC and have a lot of great experiences as well.
And that comes out with networking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mike, you were gonna say something. You said in threatening voice. I got something to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, dude, again, I swear to God, like I can't shake that. Like somebody told me earlier this week that I'm ominous by nature. So like I don't even know what to do with that. All right. But in light of just the bigger picture and where things have gone and where they've come from, I don't look back on my time with KPB and within the FGC with any regrets because there's that old Eminem lyric, "The most hated on out of all who say they get hated on." Like that has been like prevailing feeling sometimes when we get involved with this because, like Ronnie said, this is escapism for us. KPB is a passion project. It's been able to bring people all across the country together for something. And 9 times out of 10, passion projects are thankless work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But since I know you're a sports movie fan, Ralph, you remember Little Giants, right?
Of course.
All right. What was it that the coach said when they were in the locker room during the last game? You can have everything go wrong 99 times out of 100, but it still
Hmm.
leaves that one time. And
That's
that
right.
one time, exactly, that one time always makes everything worthwhile. I think about all the times that like I've gotten on the mic and I'll either hear people talking about it and they don't realize that I'm like within earshot, or I'll look in the chat sometimes going back, or God forbid, when I was younger about this, I used to make the mistake of reading YouTube comments. And
Oh man.
while I do appreciate like a lot of the love that I've been able to garner over the years, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that some of the things that I've seen and heard and read, like they didn't cut a little bit deep. No, but the fact of the matter is, for all that anguish and all that pain, I still hold on to the one time. I think about all the people that I've been able to help through KPB, help them find their way, help them find their footing, and not just people on the team, people throughout the entire FGC. The ability to say that, yeah, I got involved with this and I was able to help somebody find their passion. I was able to help somebody find their voice. I was able to help somebody make a difference in their life. All the BS that we've ever had to deal with and will likely deal with in the future, all of that melts away whenever I think about all the people that we've been able to help collectively and I've been able to help personally when it comes to the FGC. So yeah, there are going to be people who are always going to say that, well, if you guys aren't really making money off of it, then why are you still doing it? And we have a word for those people, and it's called wrong. So those people can screw off. We do this because we love it. You know, if I didn't enjoy being able to watch all the action from the best seat in the house, I would have given up being a commentator a much longer time ago. If I had to, you know, let all the negativity that pops up, because whenever something a lot of people don't get, every time a commentator bursts onto the scene, they are not met with universal applause. Let me tell you, all right. I've been told that, like, again, because of the way that my voice is, that, like, it's boring. I've been told that, again, like I sound like I'm a golf announcer and everything. But like, this is who I am. You know, I always tell people this joke. Again, I always tell people this story. Like, this happened more or less all at once. I woke up one day, went downstairs to have breakfast, saw my mom, went to say good morning, and it scared the hell out of both of us. That's just how it is. All right. But again, this is the way that, but I've never let that stop me. And the more and more I stuck to my craft, the more and more people eventually came around to it. I still remember the first time I went to Combo Breaker when we were at the Mega Center, and I had just gotten off of the mic for KOF, and somebody was yelling my name. I couldn't see who it was because, again, like, if you ever been to the Mega Center, that place is huge. Somebody starts yelling, either there's a fire that broke out or they're just trying to get your attention. And I couldn't like play basically, and I couldn't place where it was. And then this dude walked up to me, and he was grateful that I was on the mic. No, not because like at the time I wasn't the best or anything. He was grateful that somebody who had a voice like him was on the microphone now. Because again, like, there are other people, believe it or not, there are other people who rock baritone out there. Okay, not every commentator is going to be like this, like all the way turned up to 11, constantly like gyrating and all that crap. There are going to be people who have like a more docile tone to them. There are other people who have different mannerisms and whatnot. And I love the fact that I have been able to give some of those people somebody to listen to and enjoy. So yeah, again, like I said, it may be passion projects may be thankless, but that one time, it's always going to make all the difference.
Who's the biggest dick you guys have to deal with all year?
All year?
This year, I don't know.
Yeah, in the year 2022. Who's the biggest dick you guys had to deal with?
It's really
I
weird
plead the fifth
because-
on that right now.
Yeah. I can't really
I'm
like
pleading
say
the fifth.
that we've ever had to deal with like any particular dicks this year. I can think of some by name in previous years, but as far as this year, not like KPB has actually gotten like a lot of love everywhere we've gone. Like
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, like it's really like it puts me a little bit speechless to think about how we're at this point now, regardless of whatever level of success you want to throw. We're at this point now where like any of us can go to an event and we're immediately recognized. Any of us can go to an event and people like are glad to see us. They chill with us. They want to like again get some games in. They would like don't want to like they don't have any issues with like just running to the bar and just grabbing a drink. They don't have any problems just sitting there and just talking, actually having somebody to have a conversation with for like what feels like hours on end, but not. So yeah, like we've gotten a tremendous amount of like love from the community abroad. So trying to like single out one person that we've had negative issues with, honestly, I can't speak for everybody else, but like I have not dealt with anything like that. We have not had to put
It's just a
anybody
Tuesday
in the
for
dick
us.
bag. Yeah, like I said, we haven't had to put anybody. All right, like Ralph, I'll even set it up for you. Basically, we haven't had to put anybody in the dick bag this year. All right?
Oh, that took me back. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I remember you guys did that segment. That was funny.
And again, I don't think we've had to put
And
anybody
by the
in
way,
there personally
Deezee,
for us.
it was Mike's idea to put your name on in Retro's list.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was wondering how that came up.
It was Mike.
Yeah.
Steve,
Nah, that was all love.
Steve, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the Arturo situation?
I'm just gonna keep it brief. Don't play around with other people's money.
Deezee?
More or less the same. I'm pretty disappointed. But yeah, like it's just like so I'm pretty sure everyone here knows that the FGC is known for being broke, quote unquote. So to take money,
And a lot of
from the
people
community-
really enjoy that too. Like,
I don't know why,
Some
but-
people love being associated with the word broke.
I don't know why, but because I know I'm not broke, but anyway. Um, but
Speak for
it's just like
yourselves.
to take from a community that already has a reputation for not having money and using a platform that was literally created to expand the prize pools for these events. It's really disappointing, and it's a shame. I hope everything with his dad turns out okay, but if he took a step back for a while to reconfigure, reevaluate, I wouldn't blame him. I would just be like, maybe it's time to take a step back and like really think about why you did what you did, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any goodwill left with the community. We'll have to see. I'm not art. I'm also not the people who deal with art. I can't speak on that entirely, but I'm just gonna say I'm really disappointed.
Mike?
You're a better person than I am, Deezee, because like I don't have any hopes for this situation. Like, honest to God, the thing that bothers me the most is the collateral damage that's going to come from this,
Hmm.
because this is a huge thing, and I know that there are some people who are going to be in their feelings about it, and they don't want this to play out the way that, to be blunt, yeah, it's going to play out this way. This is one of those things where it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. And the fact that that's going to screw up a lot of stuff for a lot of different people, all because of him, I'm sorry, but like again, I don't have anything nice to say in that aspect.
And by the way, I just want to expand on that, and we've talked about this, Mike. A lot of people may hear Afro's take on this and is like, "Oh man, he's just being dramatic. This is nothing." Blah blah blah. It's like, listen, guys. Spooky made sure to step in and save his brand, right away. When somebody on Vic's level, as long as he's been in this community, steps in, and I believe they were roommates and best friends, working partners for a long time. When he steps in and says, "It's like, yeah, guys, he's not associated with me anymore." That's when and this kind of goes back to something we were talking about earlier. How some people don't want to acknowledge things that happen in the real world. This is he again, Spooky's a perfect example. He made sure, yeah, I'm going to save my brand by saying he's not associated with me anymore, because this is this just brings out a lot of negativity. And I think the thing that's sad about it, what Dizzy said, is just how long he's been in the community. A lot of people look at him as a pillar within the New York scene. Some people do, some people don't. It is what it is. People have their opinions of him, but I think the one thing that that bothers a lot of people, how long he has been. And like I told people, if he really needed the help, all he had to do was open up a GoFundMe account. We've seen all this stuff happen
I said
before.
that
He
too.
probably would have raised 10. Yeah, Deezy, you're the one who said it.
The
If he would have
yeah, the
opened
first
if he would have opened one up, he probably would have raised $10,000 in less than an hour, considering
the first
who he is.
hour it would have blown up, and especially because it's like, you know people say it all the time. It's just like the most of the community is pretty tight knit. So if someone needs help, we if you're willing to ask, people are willing to help, and
Hmm.
Yeah, but
that's why
somebody on his level though is a little bit different.
right. But that's the thing. His level is also why I was completely confident that if he really needed help, he didn't need
Of
that
course.
money. He could have asked the public, and they would have banded together and helped him out. As a matter of fact, I think he has done that before, and they've helped him out.
Of course. Of
So
course.
yeah, I'm not buying an excuse on why that money had to be touched. But I've already said my piece, so I'm a I'll let you guys go keep going on that.
Yeah, you
Rod?
yield the floor, huh?
With great power comes great responsibility, and this is
Oh,
exactly what happened here. It's exactly what happened here. You literally had someone fall from grace, right? And again, like I looked at the situation. I've met the guy, spoke with the guy, worked with the guy for better or worse, right? Really, no ill feelings towards him as a person, right? But that being said, you 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 know when you have a following, You know when people look up to you, look towards you. You can't not you can't pretend like that's not a thing. When you know the effect you have on a community as a whole, right?
I'm going to stop you real quick right there because that's a perfect thing to say. Because, I mean, look at that dude, Rob TV, the one that was asking him questions during that stream. I mean, that guy sounded like he was going to cry, you know?
People couldn't.
Like,
You didn't want
dude,
to
say
believe
it
it.
ain't so.
I've literally watched this week like people come at other people because they believed in their heart and saw that this man was incapable of doing such things. Like I'm talking about straight vitriol, like people just being nasty. Like, do not talk about my person like this. He is not. And I get it. I get it. We all have our phases. I've also learned. I've been around this planet a while now, and it's kind of one of those things. It's said in many different ways, but like, don't ever meet your heroes, right? Because they're going to disappoint you, right? We're all capable of human mistakes at the end of the day, right? Um, this is, I mean, yeah, you can talk about the morality of it or whatever. You know, he's not a god. He's going to make mistakes. These are mistakes that any other human could have made. Um, I'm not painting this picture for him. He did what he did, and he should serve the consequences. But we put too much stock in these quote unquote saviors of our community, right, or these gods or whatever have you. And for me, what I get concerned with the most is getting pushed back to square one. Okay, we've had situations where prominent figures, prominent groups, prominent people in our community over the last 10, 20 years have done things to set us back. This is going to set us back. And that's where my beef is, right? And there's not my beef isn't what he did or that he's human, is the consequences for the community as a whole afterwards, right? We stay destroying our own community and having to rebuild it. This is no different than like a flood washing through your town, right? It's destructive. So now companies moving forward look at the community, look at people that had such a good standing like Arturo and say, hey, I don't want to do anything with this community. This is what these guys are going to do. I've sat here through this already. You know, that's where my OG status comes in. I've seen this in real time already. I mean, I've
Multiple
seen
times.
people get handed tens of thousands of dollars to do the right thing, and they don't. So it sets us back. It's not even a step or two. This really, when this is all said and done, this really sets us back a lot. People, yes, is Maturino probably in a way to blame? That's debatable. You have to understand what's happening on all fronts of your business, right? And I guess moving forward, I hope they make a better situation, but that doesn't absolve people like Arturo from the fact that he shouldn't have did what he did. And he wasn't thinking about the community that he supposedly loved, in my opinion. This was selfish in nature, and it's sad. I feel bad for the people that looked up to him, people that believed in him, because now who do you have, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, we have lots of great leaders still in this community, but he for better or worse, no matter how you felt about him, he was a leader to many, and when this happens, you lose a little bit of faith. That's hard to replenish and bring back at the end of the day, and that's where my mind is about it right now. It's just so detrimental to the community, a community that I'm personally was always trying to uplift and like make better, and it's hard when these figures do these things, and that's it for me. Like, we'll be all right eventually, but this is going to be another dark period before we get back to where we need to be.
I want to talk about something like you said. This is going to affect the community as a whole, especially here in New York City, and this area in general. Not just New York City. Tri-state. There's a lot of really good TO streamers, leaders, like you say. But when something like this happens with as prominent a member as he is, like you said, it's gonna hit hard. There's gonna have a big ripple effect, and like you said, it's gonna take quite a while to get past this one because when you see somebody as stature as he is, and people who you're hoping become sponsors, big sponsors, trying to help out the community, they're gonna look at it, oh man, like, do we really want to deal with this crap right now? Because if he's one of the leaders, what does that say about everybody else? And that's sure as heck. I'm pretty sure it gets you guys all mad because it's like, well, here we go again.
And
It's
I want to
just,
just add real quick. Also
please.
that the whole thing with Spooky, right? Spooky had to get involved because people thought Arturo was Spooky. This is how connected he is to Team Spooky.
Yeah,
that
he
was
had to
the
clarify
main
that.
thing. He had
Yeah.
to clarify that. Like, he actually sat out and put out a video. Okay, like, say, listen,
Amazing.
Get your facts straight. He is not Spooky. But in a sense, he kind of was, because he spawned from that. If not for for a Spooky, Arturo wouldn't have the platform on a production level, right? And again, like, I really didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. I swore it, but I'm just gonna leave you guys with this. Yes, he was clearing his name at the end of the day, but it was more than just saying that he cannot be a part. It was more like he was getting accused. Like, he was probably in his bed minding his business. He's getting hit up and getting lit up on Twitter over something that he had nothing to do to, because he had ties with the man. So again, like, the damage has been done. Now we're in repair mode. I hope the community doesn't lose things like Match Arena, because it has helped. It has, when you're a competitor, and that when you're a competitor that understands the nature of the FGC, those extra dollars go a long way, right? And it's motivation, because let's keep it real. We're not motivated by the money in the FGC, because there's obviously other games you can play that make more money, right? We actually love this community, right? So playing and getting this extra money, knowing where we stand in the community, it goes a long way. It makes everything you're trying to do a little better. And then to not have that because of one person, these are the things. You make your bed and you lay in it, but you never think about how making your bed affects other people that are in your space.
What are you guys looking forward to the most in 2023? I'm sorry, what was that?
Mike?
Like I said, it's like what Lucius Fox said, all right? We can't be seen doing business with whatever the hell it is you're accused of being. Like I said, that's just real world truth right there. When you are a brand like Spooky is, and again, like, Spooky's the great grandfather of all that we do. There's no two ways about that. Spooky's, like, again, he's been that central pillar. He was the dude all the way back from the days of Justin TV. Spooky was there, and Spooky brought art on.
Guard crush.
Yeah, like I said, Spooky brought art on to the point where, like, and I've used this term, and like Ralph, I told you about it today, and I'm using it to other people. Arturo is basically the heir apparent, all right? And to have that pedigree, to have that tenure, to have that legacy behind him, that also is colluded with the concept of Team Spooky and everything that comes with it. For him to do this, again, like, it is maddening to me that this is something that, even after everything we have been through, after all the strides that the FGC has made since 2009, the fact that this is going to put an indelible blemish on all of that progress, again, that is what is so infuriating to me.
I wanted to ask what are you guys expecting for in 2023? But let's stick with this topic. Not Arturo. I'm talking about more like the local scene. Like you said, he wasn't the only quote unquote leader here. We still have a whole bunch of people doing the things they need to do to, you know, forward the community. Depending on how you look at it, you have guys like Team Stickbug and Bum. They're doing their own things. You guys do your own things, and it's the area is just mishmash. You know what I'm saying? So, what could with everything that's been happening, has there been any kind of talks about a summit of any kind about, hey, what could we do to make the community stronger in our area? Or is it still all men for themselves? All men
You
and
know,
women for themselves. Excuse
yeah,
me.
dude, like you personally, we've tried that in the past, and it always boils down
No, but I'm
to
talking
seeing,
about
yeah,
after what happened, last week with as big an event that has happened. You know, has
We
there been
needed
any
a
talk, or
forum.
is it just still again, everybody's
We
out on
needed
their own?
a forum so that this sort of thing wouldn't happen, right?
mhm.
And we had this whole like what FTC code of conduct discussion before, and then people became part of that.
Yeah, how'd that go?
End of the day, that it literally became, and excuse my language, a bunch of guys talking out their ass. Because people are still doing what they're gonna do, and it's not their fault. You know, end of the day, we're all adults, right? We can't. There's no governing body, official governing body in FTC, so we can't enforce anything,
No.
right? And the reason why we can't enforce anything because we don't have a governing body because we still want to stay grassroots. If this were the Olympics, people would behave more, right? There's a whole Olympic committee, right? There's a whole like, this is your career. If you do stuff, this is the end. You're not allowed to play anywhere, do anything. You're not allowed to compete in worlds, qualifiers, nothing like that.
Mhm.
This is still the wild, wild west, no matter how you spin it. So until we come into a situation where we have a governing body, which I feel the majority of the community will push back against. Because again, we don't want to be police. We don't want to be told what to do. We just want to play, right? Until these things happen, it doesn't matter if a group of like, tenured community members make a list and say this is how it goes. Like, and no disrespect to them, but like, end of the day, who are they to make rules, right? And that's what it is. I am for one, and probably would love to have the rules and have this code of conduct, but there's nothing in the ether that says anyone has to follow this. These are just suggested ways of people to carry themselves, right? That doesn't stop the misbehavior in in any event from happening, and they happen still. People still do dumb stuff at events. People still carry on the way they shouldn't, even though we have a code of conduct. So until there's this official governing body where it actually means something, where it actually means something to someone's career, to someone's you know ability to run an event, host an event, these things are going to continue to happen.
See, it's
What are you
also
guys looking
difficult.
forward to I'm sorry?
I was saying it's also difficult because it it's not. So when it comes to FGC, we got, yeah, we have our big events that consistently happen, but we're also in that stage where there's a lot of up and coming TOs who are starting to run their own things. So who's to say? I guess at the point where it's like if you have the money and the resources, you can run an event of any size that you want, provided that you can properly provide for it. So who's to say that some new guy that has money to burn comes in, runs an event, he has no idea what the code of conduct is. So because we don't have that governing body that like don't like they know no new TO has to answer to anybody when they want to run an event for the
Right,
first time. They just have to book
right.
the space, book the venue, get the setup, and they can do it. So that's also the hurdle that we have to get over. It's like, a player who's been banned from all the big events can just find any up and coming event and I'll just go compete in that. Like it's hard to enforce something like that because, like Rodney said, not only are we adults, so it's not like you're hurting, a bunch of children, but then you also are in a space where anybody could just run an event. Like if you have the money, you can do it. So I'm not saying I'm not optimistic on it becoming more consistent. It's just I think it's going to be a long while before we get to that point where everything is just cohesive.
What is the one thing you guys are looking most forward to in 2023?
Hmm.
It's a brand new year. We're almost in the middle of January. I believe the next big event in the area is Winter Brawl, is it not?
Yeah.
No,
Frosty
Oh,
Frostings
it's
is
Frosty, isn't
we
it?
said
Yeah.
in the area though. That's the thing.
on
Like
the area.
Oh, in
Frosty's
the
kind of
area?
Midwest, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he
So yeah,
doing
the
bigger
closest thing.
Winter Brawl anymore?
He is,
Winter
but
Ball's
there's
a
no
one day
details
event.
on it yet.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 1 day event.
Mhm.
I know
Don't
Oh,
quote
okay,
DZ.
me.
I
okay.
believe
There's no official
you and
information out.
you and Steve are you and Steve are heading out to Frosty's, are you not?
Yes.
Yes. I'll
Rod,
be
Mike,
going
are
to
you going to be
Frosty.
there?
Negative.
At the present time, I'm not. It might change, but right now, no.
Is Retro going?
Yes.
Yes.
Retro's going.
There you go, man. But what are the things you guys are looking more forward to as a team? A traveling team, like you said earlier. Lugging all this stuff together. Are you guys going to go there to work, or are you guys just to compete and just take in the atmosphere? What are you guys doing out there?
We're doing a
I'm
little bit
going
of
to work.
everything. Yeah, like Steve's going to work. I think Retro's working as well because I think Retro's going to be a big part of the mystery tournament.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's always fun.
yeah, that's his
I
big
hope there's
thing.
more Tech
He's really good at
Romancer,
it.
man. There, I'm hoping Tech
Yeah,
Romancer and Plasma Sword.
yeah, he's really good at it. But I'm going to compete, but I'm also going to pretty much just keep a lookout for our players and make sure everybody's good. Um, I kind of like to take on I don't want to say father role, it makes me feel old, but just to look out for people. If one of our players is having an issue or anxiety or whatever the case may be, I like to just step in and just like make sure they're good. So, but I'm also gonna check with Steve and Retro too. Like if they need anything from me, if they're busy working, it's like hey, like Deezee, you can go grab me food or something like that. Like I'm gonna check
Oh,
on them and help
that's
them
gonna
out.
happen. I'm gonna be busy.
Yeah,
The new
yeah,
season,
I know you're
the
gonna be
new
busy all
KOF,
day.
the new KOF season is going to be out after Frosty, is it? Isn't it?
No,
I think it's
supposed to
coming
be
out
before.
before it. Yeah,
Oh boy.
I'm a little worried about
As a
the timing. I hope it's
as a competitor, do you look forward to that kind of crap? Where it's like, yeah, I'm getting ready for an event. Next thing you know, oh well, here's a new season with everything fixed on it. I would know
As of
against
right
that.
now, I want it to happen. I'm tired of
yeah.
seeing all these Cronins out here.
Blue haired man.
Cronin and Jenny gang.
The
Yeah.
Cronins, these Jennies. Tired of seeing them.
But to be honest, I'm getting similar vibes from Combo Breaker because Combo Breaker, the Southtown patch came out. I want to say like like a week and a half before
Yeah, a
Combo
week and a
Breaker
half
or something
before,
like
and they
that.
let it rock.
Wow.
Yeah, and everybody was worried like, okay, like is it going to be legal? Because everybody wanted the new meta like really bad. They were tired of VRT, and I think Rick just said screw it. It was like, you know what, new team, new patch, all of it's legal. We're just let's just have fun, and it was a lot of fun. Like a lot of people brought a lot of new teams into the fold because of that. So I'm hoping that Frosty has a similar vibe. I hope it's coming. I hope it comes out early enough in the month to where because Frosty's like what the first weekend of February.
Yeah.
So it's like I hope that
Wow.
it comes out early enough to where there's not really a debate on whether or not they should use that patch at the tournament. Like we could just go ahead and just do it.
Yeah,
You know,
I bet
that's-
you it
that's
comes out
some-
next week.
Probably next week.
Like surprise.
But
Shingo.
I'm hoping some unknown OD Shingo just comes in and just takes first, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, what happened?"
Shingo's gonna be.
Man, I just want 98 Shingo back, counter everything. Counter.
I have a
Counter.
feeling he's gonna like.
Talking about the critical hit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta work that into his
my
kit
bad.
somehow.
What about you, Mike, man? What's the number one thing you're looking forward to in 2023? Although you are like semi-retired anyway from the national stage.
Yeah. Truth be told, the one big thing that I'm looking forward to in 2023 is the advent and the implication of crossplay. Because the fact that being the last hurdle that a lot of communities seem to have, having that be something that's peeled away, I think will add an entire new dimension to competition.
Hey, where'd Ronnie go? Is he hiding from us?
Yeah,
That's
step
the
up.
way-
Yeah, he has to
Wait a
step away for a couple minutes.
Jeez, man. I had to ask him what he's looking forward to in 2023. I'll tell you what I'm doing, man. I'm looking forward to doing more interviews and everything. I'm hoping to have a whole bunch of people lined up. Again, I was very surprised that last episode I did with Master Steve, first episode I'd done like in 3 months, 300 downloads. I'm like,
That's crazy,
I guess I was
Yeah,
missed by a
people
few
miss it.
people.
Nice.
right?
Yeah, you're good at what you do, Ralph. So
Yeah, I gotta
you're
interview
not
Deezee,
around.
man. I know he's like, hey, come on, man. When's my episode coming up next?
Oh, I mean, we can take our time. I mean, there's no rush.
Oh
But
man,
we'll talk. We'll
Jesus.
get it set up.
You know what the most amazing thing is, though, man, is everything that you guys do. We talked about it. You know, it's a thankless job. It's always been. Hoping that eventually, and this is a big hope, you know, maybe people will finally start, you know, acknowledging how hard it is to help out at tournaments. You know, doing a local thing where it's just one streamer and one day's worth of work, you know, it's nothing compared to these big events, the things people go out to enjoy. And it's something you also said. It's it's a weekend to get away from it all, to get away from the real world, to go hang out with your friends, go hang out with your peers, enjoy everything that we love doing, which is playing video games. In this case, you know, it's fighting games. But even when you go over to these kinds of events, you hear people talking all sorts of genres. I remember for a while there, people, you know, it's like, yo, screw fighting games, man. Who's playing Overwatch? You know, let's all go and become Overwatch pros instead of Street Fighter pros because nobody's making money here. All the money is over in Overwatch. And you know, everything that's happened with the Arturo stuff, and even then, I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of more stuff coming out soon about that. It can't, you know, we can't let it deter us from, you know, trying to keep growing the community. And I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit of a tough road because of everything that's happened. But all we could really do is just go forward because, you know, like some of you guys have mentioned, really, like, and a lot of people have mentioned it being on this show before. How much longer do you plan on doing this? Like, look at Mike. He's stepping back. I believe, you know, he's told, and a lot of people may not know it, but he said, you know, God of War's Ragnarok is going to be the last video game he's ever going to buy.
Yeah,
You
like
know, the
unless
guy just wants to
something,
concentrate on other projects.
yeah, like unless something like truly magical comes down the pipeline, like yeah, that's more or less going to be it for me. That's part of the reason. Well, that is like the primary reason why I shaved. Yeah. Again, I know it may sound silly, but like there's really only one moment throughout the entirety of Ragnarok where the screen cuts to black. Everything else, it is one continuous shot all the way through. And given the gravitas of the scene itself and the music that plays with it, and Rage, I'm pretty sure you've already beaten Ragnarok, right?
Yep.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I ain't gonna spoil anything. I don't care. But again, like once you get to that point, after that moment and those songs play, like I knew I'd like experienced something truly unique. So I had to signify that, and that's why I lowered my ears a little bit, so to speak.
Daisy, do you think you're ever going to reach a game where you're going to say, this is the end for me?
Um, Eventually, I mean, we're we're nobody no like I can't. My fingers won't survive forever doing this, but it's I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. Um, Honestly, I just plan on going until I reach a point where I can't play competitively anymore, or I just or life just gets in the way so much that I don't have the time. That's the only way I can really see myself, not because a lot of my closest friends I've either met through this community or through proxy to this community, and it's like I can't really see myself stepping away from it because it's at the point where a lot of my closest interactions with other people all stem from this. So it's like, why would I stop when everything is centered here for me? You know,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't really see myself stopping. Not anytime soon.
What about you, Steve? Have you gotten to a point where, I mean, you're a married man again. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
You moved out to the middle of Jersey, taking over 8 on the break.
Coming soon. Coming soon. Still in talks. Is
Can't hear you, man.
still
Say again.
I said coming soon. Still in talks because I just been busy. Last year was very busy for me, um, and I'm hoping this year will be very busy for me as well. And I'm just
And
looking
Rob, we're
forward to
going to
the new year.
finish it off with you, man. What are you looking forward to the most in 2023?
Uh, progress is always progress first and foremost. Everything that we do is planned, is set in motion. We have places we want to reach and goals that we want to attain. Um, it's hard when sometimes you have a lot going against you. Um, like I said, as much as I love the community doesn't always love you back, and it's hard to operate in a space like that. Um, I think I check in with Steve like once a year, and I'm like, "Yo, you still want to do this?" You know, just to be sure. You
And I
know,
say yes every time.
and he says yes, and I say as long as you want to do it, I want to do it, and then we take it from there. So, um, I can't stress a lot of things that you can't stress anything you can't control, right? You can't worry about it, and there are things that happen to us that we just can't control. Um, and we just keep pushing forward so that we get to where we want to be. Um, we try at least several times a year just to let the community know that we haven't forgotten about you guys, and still try to do things for the community, especially locally. um, I feel, and this is not to pat ourselves on the back, but I feel that we are one of the few groups to recognize that, especially in this area, that there's a lot of saturation, and we don't need to do what everyone else is doing. You know, you guys are people that are having events here in the city and in the region. You guys are all doing a good job. Um, you, we're not ever trying to compete with people, right? Even though it has felt in the past like people have tried to compete with us. Um, because I think there's enough going around to at least help the community. You know, the New York tri-state area is pretty well off. Even though we get overlooked a lot, even though I complain about how we don't get a lot of pro tour stops in this region, especially with established events, um, because this is one of the strongest regions in the country, if not the world. You know, uh, we do have our Capcom Cup winner from here. We've had several Cup winners from New York. Um, this is a very interesting region in terms of how we're strong yet we're overlooked a lot, especially again on the circuit area. Like I was talking with someone about how like we have a very strong Soul Calibur region, and it wasn't the short lived tour didn't have a stop here. So it's like us being one of the best regions. We have to travel to you guys to beat you guys. Like, is that what that is? Um, yeah. I find it weird. It's a very weird region to operate out of, but it's also a very self sufficient region. Um, we've talked about doing things in other regions, because this tri-state region is well off. We have enough events. We have, we're not. Yeah, we want to do stuff locally just to say that we're still here, but and that's all it is. We're definitely not doing it for money. That's not why we got involved in FTC at all. Unlike some organizations, um, but
Ooh.
we have the wherewithal to understand that other regions in this country could use our help, which is why we attended things like esports summits and stuff like that. and the desire and the need is there. It's out there, you know. So we're trying to do is like just expand on that, you know, and bring back the things that we do and learn from these places that come here, you know, and leave it here to make this region better. Because as strong as it is, it can always be better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's my hope for this upcoming year, and just to continue to have fun doing this and continue to see the people that we love. That you know, I love coming to events because sometimes it's the only time I get to see these people. Um, and so that's always an incentive to come out to these events, just to see certain people that are looking forward to see me. You know, so that's always a great feeling. Um, but also to continue to keep this community thriving. You know, we can do our part. So that's what's in it for me, and I'm sure most of all my guys would agree on that to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? With that being said, man, let's get this show, wrapped up. And of course, as usual, man, any shout outs, to anybody wants to shout out anybody out there? Give any shout outs, give any thank yous for a nice 2022
I
long
just want
road
to
you
shout
guys
out.
had. You traveled all over the place. So again, shout outs. Here we go.
I just want to shout out to my team first and foremost. You know, they, you know, my only wish was that as someone who runs a team that I could do so much more for you guys because you guys are worth every second of it. And I never get to say this a lot publicly, and that's even everyone in the team, everyone that's there, like each one of you guys, like help really like make me want to continue doing this, and all your individual personalities and stuff. So I got to thank my team first and foremost because without you guys, we don't have anything. Um, on shout outs, to the community at large, the people that work with us and believe that we can do what we can do. Um, that always helps. Everyone that has always had something nice to say. The people that has always supported us from the time we've walked to this community to this very day. You guys all know who you are. Um, Shout outs to people like Andre, the Bifuteki crew. He takes us under his wing, but it's also like he comes under our wing as well at times, and we bounce ideas off each other and help each other be better, not only in this space but as individuals and friends and personal lives. So I'm always grateful for Dre in that regard. Um, and just that just to say that we're still here. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. As long as Steve says so. Um, and we'll continue to do everything it is that we can do to just be the team you guys have always loved. So that's my 2 cents.
Well,
Anybody else with shout outs?
What, that Steve?
Say, well,
Yeah, Steve said something.
I can't.
mine-
Put up your volume, Steve.
my mic is
Kind of
crazy.
dropped.
All right. You hear me now? You good?
Your mic's doing the thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yep. All right. So why do I have to say?
You make all this
You
work.
get the
That's why.
keys, man.
Yeah.
Because
well,
without you, when the rig
everybody's the
explodes,
glue, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When the rig explodes, we don't know what to do, so we need you for that. I'm kidding.
Basically. All right.
Because I ain't fixing it.
Yeah. As far as shout outs go, first and foremost, yeah, like to everybody that blesses the sticks. Like, thank y'all for making what I've done for the last couple of years so entertaining. On a personal note, definitely to ape off of Rod, like definitely shout out to the team and the family itself. Like, I'm gonna be purple and black until I'm, dead and in the ground, basically. And on a professional note, like, yeah, I just want to constantly shout out the official Crane and Studio Stills. Like, I love that crew. I love what they put together. I love the work that they've done, and I'm always going to be looking forward to hearing more from them. So yeah, big ups on that.
Dizzy?
Um, I mean, first and foremost, I gotta shout out my team. You guys are like brothers to me. So I never. I'm the oldest in my family, so I never had big brothers growing up. But coming on to KPB and hanging out with the guys, working with the guys, and stuff like that. It's been a blessing. So I'm really thankful for that. Also, shout outs to just the community at large. Like, there's so many different people that come from all walks of life that come together to do this. Because at the end of the day, like, all these events, whether it's a local, a major, whatever, it's a celebration, in my opinion. Celebration of fighting games. Because it's a really competitive genre, but it also brings people together. And I don't think that gets brought up enough because, a lot of people think of the genre and they just think, oh, like, who's the best? That's all I care about. But they don't think about the people who are skilled and, they might not be the best, but they're good enough to make an impact. And they turn into commentators, or they turn into TOs, or they turn into, production staff or whatever. And it's like playing these games is like a gateway. When you play these games enough and you get invested enough in the scene beyond just playing online or playing locally or whatever, you start to meet people, form connections with people, and it really starts to build the community just from that alone. So, whether you're just a player or you stream or commentate or whatever, just want to give shout out to those people because they keep us in business, to be completely honest. And it also helps us. It also helps us, keep our passion going and do as much as we can for you guys in return.
I want to give a shout out, to everybody who listens to the show, man. Thank you very much. I know we were kind of absent in 2022. Definitely going to be putting up more episodes soon. Have some great ideas of some people to get on this. And by the way, I will say one thing. Shout out to Curtis Betts, I believe it was, man. The Evil Rodney thing that he did at NEC, man. That was definitely the best part of the year. No, you saw that? Yo, that's weird. You saw how Rodney's light went off? What the heck?
Yeah, that was perfect.
He's transforming. Watch out.
It's like one of the all-time great things, man. Evil Rodney. So listen, man, I want to thank you guys once again for, for coming on to this and sharing your experiences as a production team, as the traveling brotherhood that you guys are. You traveled all over the country. Did you travel out of the States to the Dominican Republic to run something over there, or was that the other year?
That was a while back. That was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, that was a while back.
That was 2019. Yeah,
all right, then. Well, listen, man. Good travels to everybody. I'm sorry?
That was for Capcom Cup. It was qualifier.
Oh, wow. Well, listen, man. It was a lot of fun chatting with you guys. Safe travels to everybody going forward. It's not an easy job, but like you guys, somebody has to do it, man. The more, you guys get contracted, you're going to be out there and you're only going to be getting the best. TOs who contract you guys out to get the work done. There's a reason why you guys get those gigs, and it's because you've proven time and time again, man, you guys are one of the most reliable teams in the game. So with that being said, once again, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, man, exactly. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. The video will be up on YouTube, all your favorite podcast outlets, and until next time, man. Once again, guys, thank you, and have yourselves a good night.
You too, brother.
Peace, God.
This has been a KPG Media Works production.